Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into one of the most intense, really explosive controversies of our time. We're unpacking the legal and ethical battles surrounding massive digital platforms to answer one huge question. Are the digital spaces where our kids spend basically all their time safe by design, or are they actually dangerous by default? Let's get into it. So, let's start with a really uncomfortable question, one that challenges a basic assumption pretty much every parent makes when they hand over a tablet. Do you actually know what your kids are looking at? Because as we're going to see from recent lawsuits and some pretty shocking survivor testimonies, the reality behind that screen, well, it might be vastly different from what we've all been led to believe. Just to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this, think about the platform Roblox. We're talking about 70 million daily active users worldwide. 70 million every single day. That's not just a popular game, right? That is an absolutely massive global digital ecosystem where millions of people are hanging out, playing, and chatting for hours on end. And to bring that a little closer to home, research shows that 75% of US kids between the ages of 9 and 12 play on this site regularly, 3 out of 4 kids in that age group. That creates a gigantic, totally captive audience of highly impressionable youth, and honestly, some of them are as young as 5. When a platform becomes that baked into our culture, its safety architecture isn't just some niche tech issue anymore. It's a massive, critical issue for all of us. Part 1. The illusion of safety and predators in the playground. Let's ground this in a real, deeply personal story. Meet Michael. His journey is, well, it's harrowing. He joined the platform when he was just 8 years old, totally drawn in by what looked like the ultimate virtual Lego game. But by age 15, after being groomed by a highly celebrated game developer on the platform, he was hospitalized following a suicide attempt. Now, here's where the story turns. Michael channeled that deep trauma into action. By age 22, he ran his own sting operations using decoy accounts, literally getting 6 predators arrested and convicted. But the kicker? According to Michael, the platform didn't thank him. They didn't hire him to improve their safety. Instead, they hit him with a cease and desist letter, banned his other accounts, and threatened him with legal action. Michael actually testified about this stark contrast between the platform's PR and his own lived experience. He said, and I quote, "They are telling parents that it is a safe platform, and they are hosting some of the most reprehensible content that little kids can access, and it's just opened the floodgates for predators." He's arguing that fully monetized, explicit content is operating right there in the open, giving bad actors direct access to vulnerable kids. Michael's attorney, Stephen Vanderpoorten, came up with a really brilliant analogy to explain how this works. He says, imagine a sprawling, child-focused shopping mall. You drop your kid off on a Saturday, right? It's heavily marketed as super safe. But the reality? There are 0 security guards. None. And even worse, the mall has all these direct doors, like integrated chat links, that actively funnel kids out of the bright mall and into dark, totally unmoderated alleys where predators are literally waiting. If a kid got hurt at that physical mall, we'd hold them all accountable instantly. So Vanderpoorten argues, why aren't we doing the exact same thing for the digital equivalent? Part 2, the addiction architecture in slot machine science. High-profile lawsuits are now pointing out that the danger isn't just who is on these platforms, but how the platforms themselves are built to keep kids hooked. In court, attorney Mark Lanier presented some jaw-dropping internal documents, like this one from 2011. It literally states, "Our goal is not viewership, our goal is addiction." Think about that for a second. This isn't some accidental byproduct of a fun app. Addiction was the deliberate architectural goal right from the start. And the science they use to achieve that is wild. The legal team revealed that tech companies actually brought in casino neurosurgeons. Yes, casino neurosurgeons to implement something called intermittent variable rewards. It's the exact same psychological trick that makes casino slot machines so wildly addictive. By throwing in random virtual loot boxes, autoplaying the next video, and creating endless scrolling feeds, they deliver these unpredictable dopamine hits. It is scientifically proven to completely bypass a child's developing impulse control. Once they're in that loop, it is incredibly hard to break. Mark Lanier explains this AI algorithm using another great analogy, a ruthless bookstore. Picture walking into a bookstore and picking up one single book. The second you touch it, the entire store, every shelf, every display, magically reorganizes itself to match exactly what you're interested in. Then it starts subtly sliding provocative or boundary-pushing books in front of you, just to see if you'll take the bait. If you do, boom, it reorganizes again, locking you into this relentless, endless loop that has absolutely zero moral compass. How is a child supposed to compete with a machine that smart? Which brings us to part 3, the Big Tobacco Playbook and Corporate Accountability. With all these whistleblowers coming forward, attorneys are noticing a really familiar, really disturbing pattern. They're calling it the Big Tobacco Playbook. Remember how tobacco executives famously swore up and down that their products weren't addictive, while their own internal labs knew they were? While big tech is being accused of pulling the exact same stunt. The testimonies claim that when internal studies show these platforms are harming vulnerable kids, executives quietly bury the data, shut down the research, and then send out their highly paid PR teams to tell lawmakers everything is totally fine, all to protect that massively profitable addiction economy. But you know what? Accountability might finally be catching up. We just saw a landmark $6 million jury verdict against Meta and YouTube. For the very first time, a jury explicitly found that these companies deliberately designed their products to addict kids, and that they acted with fraud and malice. Now sure, $6 million is pocket change for a tech giant, but legally, that is a massive deal. It's the tip of the spear for tens of thousands of similar cases currently pending across the country.
Part 4, corporate responses, and the friction between PR and reality. Because obviously these corporations aren't just sitting back silently.
In the wake of these verdicts and explosive testimonies, it's important to look at what the companies are actually saying. Meta and YouTube completely, categorically deny the jury's findings of fraud and malice. They've formally stated they disagree with the verdicts and plan to aggressively appeal them. Publicly, they insist they use industry-leading tech to build responsible products, and they confidently stand by their track record of keeping teens safe online. But man, there is some serious friction between those public PR statements and the whistleblower realities. On one hand, you have corporate claiming they use rigorous filters and strict policy enforcement. On the other hand, internal documents presented in court suggest these companies do literal cartwheels to make sure crucial safety settings are buried deep in menus and, crucially, set to default off. If a safety feature is off by default, parents have to jump through a million hoops just to turn it on, which conveniently keeps user engagement and profits as high as possible. Roblox has also been feeling the heat lately, facing a ton of public backlash and a dropping market share. So they recently rolled out some major safety updates. They're introducing new age-based account tiers, like Roblox Kids for ages 5 to 8 and Roblox Select for ages 9 to 15. They are finally disabling chat by default for users under 9, and they've expanded parental controls to help monitor things like screen time and who their kids are friends with. But for a lot of critics and survivors, it's just not enough. Attorney Stephen Vanderporten puts it bluntly, saying, "It's too little, it's too late." He points out that their age verification system is still fundamentally broken, literally identifying adults as children and children as adults. The critics argue these are just temporary band-aids on a bullet wound, deployed only because the company got caught in the legal crosshairs, not because of a genuine proactive commitment to safety. And that really brings us to the core of this entire explainer. When you weigh the slick corporate safety promises against the multi-million-dollar legal verdicts, the internal leaked documents, and those truly heartbreaking stories from survivors like Michael, you're left having to answer one incredibly vital question for yourself. Is social media destroying a generation by accident or by design? Thanks for joining us for this explainer. Keep looking past the screen and keep questioning the algorithms.